It is the 12th of the 5th, 2025. The time is 6 minutes past 8. And there, as always, are very many F1 centric thread at which we need to pull. We'll talk in the first instance about Fernando Alonso and what's happened to his career, his life as an F1 peddler. Once upon a time, he was one of the best 2005 to 2006, vanishing one Michael Schumacher, the Reagan Meister, into the distance that is retirement. But what's happened since? We'll touch on it. So too, we've got to talk about Seb and Mick Schumacher, Oscar Piastri setting new records left, right and centre. We'll talk about McLaren's brakes. So too, we'll talk about Christian Horner. And then, of course, we'll talk about what Toto Wolff did or didn't say about Max Verstappen and their future together or not, potentially. Let's talk about Seb and Mick in the first instance, because Sebastian Vettel has been out here championing Mick Schumacher, lest we forget. I want to say in 2012, when Sebastian Vettel needed a cheeky place, he got one from Mick Schumacher's old man, Michael Schumacher. Michael Schumacher, once upon a time, was something of a mentor for Sebastian Vettel, and it seems that Sebastian Vettel is now keen to repay that favour. Mick Schumacher, one-time F2 and F3 champion. It feels like F1's passed him by. Yeah, of course his pedigree was good once upon a time. Of course he looked like he could drive an F1 car, but then he was yeeting it into the barrier each and every single race as near as makes no difference. Bad relationship with Gunther Steiner, his then team principal of Haas, and all of a sudden Mick Schumacher's career fell off a cliff. However, Sebastian Vettel, the man, the myth, the legend, four-time champion 2010 through 2013, is keen to resurrect it by dint of a seat at Cadillac F1 in 2026. Here's what Sebastian Vettel had to say, and I quote, "He's much more mature now and deserves a second chance after his stint with Haas. Schumacher's recent performances in the World Endurance Championship have impressed Vettel, who hopes that he will mount himself a comeback." So what's going on, Joe? I don't know where I stand on this Mick Schumacher thing. You know what? I've always been a romantic as far as the Fs. And would it be brilliant to see Mick Schumacher in here winning a championship of the drivers' variety? Abso-flipping-lutely. But is that the most likely eventuality in this automotive pugilistic Rubik's Cube? I would argue not at least if past is prologue. And I would argue as well that Cadillac F1 have a gazillion options on their table. Herta, some say Teo Pourchaire, some say Felipe Drogovic, some say that there might be other names that you want to throw in there, Checo Perez potentially. But this is a money game now. And of course, if money is a game and then financial resources, cash rules everything around me, cream, get the money, dollar bills, if that matters for Cadillac F1, then why would they sign Mick Schumacher instead of, I don't know, a Checo Perez, the man formerly known as the Mexican Minister of Defense? Oh, and by the way, Oscar Piastri blazing a trail, chat. It's getting techier than techie things. I feel like we're at the start of that mountain climb as far as Oscar Piastri's journey, right at the start. And some would say, myself included, that as far as greatness, that's the most exciting part, that it's not about the destination as much as it is the journey. The greatest ones, I don't know, a Michael Jordan, a Maximilian Verstappen, a Sir Lewis Hamilton, when they were coming up, when you didn't know whether they could make their first jump, to leverage the Neo from the Matrix analogy, when you didn't know whether they were going to fulfill on their not insubstantial potential, that's when the journey's at its most salacious is the wrong word, but it's most intriguing. That's where there is stakes. Will they or won't they? Oscar Piastri's here as far as his journey, and that's why it's so bloody exciting, especially when you peruse the statistic landscape and start to see what this dude is doing in real time. You'll recall, we went through this the other day, as versus Lando Norris, who's in his 7th season, no less. Oscar Piastri's only in his 3rd. And some of the stats that you can see already, he's won it. That's his 6th race now. And Lando Norris has only won 5. What are we doing, chat? He's won 4 of the previous 6, if I recall correctly, and 3 back-to-back-to-back. Oscar Piastri is only the 3rd or 4th driver, if I recall correctly, after Alain Prost, Ayrton Senna and Hakkinen. 4th, therefore, since 1998. He did it last, to win 3 in a row. This is rarefied air for Oscar Piastri. We've talked ad infinitum about his speed and how he's improved it year on year. That is the mark, no, the making of a champion in waiting. The ability to have an open and honest conversation with yourself, Lando Norris, Dustin from Stranger Things, and improve upon your deficits and deficiencies. That's what Oscar said that he did on the back of last season. It was pace and it was tyre management. He fixed both of those things in quali and in the race respectively. So what now? It looks like he's on his path, does it not? Oscar Piastri, Mr. Mental Fortitude himself, Mr. Robust himself. And then you get all these stats that support the aforementioned theses. Here's what you need to see. And this is where it gets a bit techie than techie things. Here's what Oscar Piastri's been up to. Oscar Piastri now has 6 wins, matching Charles Leclerc in the ground effect era since 2022. What are we doing, chat? Charles Leclerc has been driving, aka modern day Journalese. He's been driving that Scuderia Ferrari car 1,000 gazillion years. 2018 settings, that is a lot of time. And you mean to tell me Oscar Piastri in only his 3rd season, notwithstanding the fact that his MCL 3.9 has durable competitive advantage over the other 9 cars on the grid, that already at this very early stage of his F1 gestation, you mean to tell me that Oscar Piastri has just as many race wins as Charles Leclerc? Listen, techie than techie things. That's all that I'll say about that. This chap's on his way, chats, and I think we need to take heed. Now, this isn't me anointing him as a championship, and it would be far too early and premature to say that he's the next, I don't know, Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton as an example, but bloody Nora, is that chap on his way, and he cuts a formidable figure if indeed you want to beat him, particularly if you don't have the machinery requisite to win races, therefore, and championships. Should we have a word about Sir Lewis? As always, as is customary, because it gets techier than techie things as far as Sir Lewis. I saw this post and I was like, after, of course, Sir Lewis's co-chair position at the Met Gala, black dandyism was being celebrated, whatever that means. Now we see Sir Lewis, per Citrus, the legend that is on Twitter. Sir Lewis has followed everybody. 0 followings. Whoa. 39.5 million, as near as makes no difference, 40 million followers and 1,544 posts. Pathetic fallacy as far as the numbers are concerned. If you are invested in that sort of thing, what does that mean, chat? I don't know. Is that him? Is that performative? Is that Lewis saying, listen, I'm hunkering down and I'm focused. I don't have time to follow anyone else, including my own dog, Roscoe. Is that what he's trying to signal there? Because colour me a tad bored of all this. I just want for 2 things. I want for Scuderia Ferrari to sort out their car, the instability at the rear, the rigidity of their back suspension too. And so too, I want Sir Lewis to dial in just like he did last Grand Prix. I don't want him to be a gazillion miles away from Charles Leclerc, the penultimate one where he was 30 seconds over the course of 52 laps. That works out anywhere up to 0.6 a lap. That was the delta that Charles Leclerc, aka modern day Journalese, had in hand on Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton. As a Lewis Hamilton fan, despite what the naysayers say, trying to tell me who I am from who I am not, as a big man in this F1 YouTube game, despite what the naysayers will say, I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan, have always been, and I want to see that dude not win a race here or there. Silverstone was nice last year, but I'm not here to be an F1 peasant of an F1 fan, a pauper picking up crumbs. If Lewis Hamilton is the dude that so many people around the world still think he is, then we need to have this conversation under the umbrella heading of championships. Yes, he's 40 years old. Yes, it will be unprecedented settings, him winning an 8th, a record-breaking 8th. The one thing that Michael Schumacher, as near as makes no difference, didn't manage to do. Yes, there's only ever been 3 F1 champions in history of the drivers' variety to win their championship at the age of 40 years or older. 66 Brabham, Nino Farina in 1950 and Juan Fangio in 57 when he won his last one. There's only been 1 driver to win championships in 3 or more teams. That dude has a name and his name is Fangio. I only say that to say this is very rarefied air, the most rarefied air that Sir Lewis is breathing now. And I say it to say that I'd like to see more from Sir Lewis than a cheeky unfollow of everyone. What does that mean, chat? But I digress. I'll leave the Lewis Hamilton dissecting. Again, important for context is that this is his first home race at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, Imola, this race weekend, with the pressure mounting on all and sundry, all related parties as far as Scuderia Ferrari, with them their red overalls and the yellow badges and black prancing horse atop. Frederick Vasseur, pressure bust pipe, sir. I feel like that dude will be suffocating in the pressure at the moment. It is his third season as Scuderia Ferrari team principal, and that has to mean something, because if he walks away from this season at the end of it empty-handed, sans silverware, then Houston, Scuderia Ferrari, we have ourselves a problem. Should we talk about, since we're talking about Father Time and Sir Lewis Hamilton, it's probably more apropos now to segue into Fernando Alonso than ever. Go on, let's talk about Fernando Alonso, because I thought that dude, I still think that dude is a fire-breathing dragon of an F1 peddler. As far as racing IQ god tier, I would have told you this story. I had a chat with racing engineers and F1 insiders many moons ago, circa 2008, 2009, and they all said to a man and a woman that if there was a dude on the grid, my question obviously as a young, hungry F1 fan, which one of the drivers is the best? Not necessarily the fastest, but the best on the grid. Lewis, surely. They were like, no, to a person. They all said Fernando Alonso. I was like, why? How is Alonso better than Lewis? You saw what happened in Lewis's first season. Each and every single one of them said this, that Fernando Alonso has a CPU of a racing mind, that he knows the delta to the dude in front, that he always knows the delta to the dude behind. He'll be aware of plan A, B and C. He'll know what lap they're on. He'll be aware of all the varying parameters. He'll be watching the screen, seeing what's going on in front of him, behind him. That's the level at which Fernando Alonso is operating at. You see Hungary a couple of years ago. You see the way he was cleaning the track with a view to set up a nice sexy move on turn one off the start. He thinks 5 or 6 moves ahead. You saw the defence of Checo Perez when he had ostensibly a much slower car than the Red Bull that day. Brazil 2023, I want to say. At that point, the DAZN commentators used the moniker that they always use on Fernando Alonso, characterising him as magic. He is magic. He was magic once upon a time, but has he been magic of late? Listen, let me tell you this. Context is key when we're talking about these things. How old is Fernando? 44, if not yet soon to turn. And that has to bloody matter. It has to, because Father Time is undefeated, undisputed, pound for pound, has never lost a round. Don't listen to what the F1 muggles and sports fans, the Monday morning quarterbacks, will tell you about Tom Brady and LeBron James. LeBron James is now 40. Let me see how many championships he wins between now and the end when he retires. Father Time is undefeated, chat. This is one of the oldest truisms, not just in F1, but in sports history, therefore. So look at that next to me and you tell me about these stats and numbers. Of course, you've got to normalise for the fact that Aston Martin is now more significantly off the race lead than it was in 2023. But in 2023, after 6 races, Fernando Alonso, he had 93 points in the driver's standing. In 2024, at the same point in the championship, he had how many? 33 points. In 2025 at the equivalent time, he has 0 points, 0 puntas, and that has to matter, chat. It's significant because ultimately, when Aston Martin and Lawrence Stroll are perusing the landscape and flirting their eyes at, I don't know, a Maximilian Verstappen, let's say, they'll have to be thinking about this. Lance Stroll was never going anywhere, for he's the son of the owner. Of course he wasn't. Again, agency and confirmation bias, heuristic availability to are all things and will factor into Lawrence Stroll's strategic decision making. But now, bloody Nora, it feels like Fernando Alonso is making the case for his own dismissal by dint of his poor performances. Where has this dude gone? That's not a good look. Men lie, women lie, numbers, some say, do not. And it isn't a good look for Fernando Alonso. I recall penultimate Grand Prix when he was at the press conference and being asked about whether he felt threatened by having Maximilian Verstappen as a partner in a driver pair. He said something to the effect of, I don't feel threatened, but it will never happen. I've got a contract through to next year. Adrian Newey settings, the last airbender. And so I'm looking to aprovechar, take advantage of that. However, he said something like, it will never happen. I will be an ambassador before I am the driver pairing, the teammate of Maximilian Verstappen. Techier than techie things, chat. I feel bad. Because again, I lived through the era and he was 05, 06, a fire-breathing dragon, 130R on Michael Schumacher, you will recall. But now what's happened to him? Maybe it is the car. Maybe I need to give him some more grace, just as so many Sir Lewis Hamilton fans are giving Sir Lewis. You can't do anything in an SH1T box of a car, can you? To which point, let me tell you this. There's a lot of chat going around about Scuderia Ferrari in autoracer.it, the Italian press and F1 media. And they're talking about the numerous multitudinous travails of that SF25 iteration of that red car with them their yellow badges and black prancing horse atop. Here's what they say. The structural problems of the SF25 prevent it from using its full potential. No kidding. Sherlock. The largest losses for Ferrari are mainly in slow range, low minimum speed, medium duration turns. Some encouraging data, however, shows that it's still possible to remedy a disappointing start to 2025. Show us then, Scuderia Ferrari. Do you know what I mean? Frederick Vasseur, sort it out, chap. You weren't brought there to win nothing, and your time is running out. The sand timer on your tenure as team principal has been turned around. I tell you what really pees me off with them. Yeah, they might have built a car, but remember at Abu Dhabi last year, 2024, they had the quickest vehicle, did they not? Or maybe I'm recalling incorrectly. That their car was in the ascendancy. The whole of Scuderia Ferrari as a movement, as Tifosi's team, was doing one of these. Frederick Vasseur was the one who said, listen, we need to go away and build a rocket ship now because we've got all the minerals, all the tools, all of the momentum on the back of the end, the season finale, Abu Dhabi 2024. What now then? What's happened? Explain to me the gap analysis, Frederick Vasseur. You're meant to be one of the God tier ones, Mr. Pragmatic. What's happened between now and then? Look, now we know that rear instability is the problem as far as Sir Lewis Hamilton's concerned. And Charles Leclerc being a God tier one, modern day Gilles Villeneuve, lest we forget modern day Jean Alesi. He's got that ability to manipulate the car in and on around the limits of adhesion, leveraging the weaknesses, the unstable rear even, with a view to gain lap time, optimise for his circumstance. That's Charles Leclerc's gift. Lewis Hamilton doesn't like to drive the car like that. He likes to have confidence in the rear and it be front end pointy as far as its nose. So I don't know where they go for this, chat. I don't know what they're going to do. Bring suspension, stiffen the rear, make it more rigid. Well, there's equal and opposites. There's downsides to that as far as riding the curb. I'm not sure where they go. The one time that we've seen Lewis Hamilton in that car, they go and get a cheeky disqualification by dint of excessive wear of skid planks. What are we doing here? This is nonsense. The communication's rubbish. You're taking the Mick out of, extricating the Michael politely from Lewis Hamilton's circumstance by telling him, can you chill out, mate? Charles Leclerc has the whip hand here. You must therefore defer to him, even if you do have faster, medium, yellow labelled tyres. What are we doing? This is just nonsense. And then I'm reminded that maybe it's me being naive, that this is the oldest story, oldest truism in F1 history as far as the modern day era and Ferrari. That they always make mistakes, that they always seize defeat from the jaws of victory. They've made an industry, a career out of doing that ever since 2007, when they happened by chance on a drivers' championship, when the McLaren bods in Alonso and Hamilton spent too long fighting each other, taking bites out of each other's cumulative points haul. I'm reminded, therefore, that we shouldn't expect too much from Ferrari, because again, the meta as far as the suspension settings was to put a cheeky pull rod on the front. Adrian Newey told you that because there were some very sexy things that you could do as far as the aero flow over the car. as you approach the wing beam and rear wing. Adrian Newey told you that, and he's the cleverest kid in class, so copy his homework. Therefore, Ferrari have only just cottoned on in the final rule of this reg spec. Now they want to play convergence games, and it is nonsense. Chat, I've had enough, but I digress. Go on, let's talk about some McLaren, because these brakes are kicking off. It's interesting to me, chat. Indulge me in this for a second. It is interesting to me to see the way that the old media are covering it. We have Divergence. We have new media straight on YouTube talking about this. You have B Sport telling us that potentially phase-changing materials could have something to do. How would he know? Well, he worked for McLaren many moons ago, and he did this in his thesis. This is like Adrian Newey and ground effect. This is his specialty subject. Defer to him then. Old media said, you know what, this is gubbins. Whatever these people, these noddy bods are talking about on YouTube, they don't even know what they're talking about. Well, let's see how that pans out. I'm keen to see, because you have a lot of evidence. We talked to the AMUS article earlier. You've got the bloody liquid that Red Bull engineers are saying that they saw coming out the tyres. Well, you can't put water in the bloody tyres because it wouldn't work. So what was it then? Of course, I'm talking about the guys and girls over at the race. They say that McLaren are just leveraging and weaponising sound engineering with a view to mitigate for the rate at which their tyres are degging. Yeah, that sounds about right. But dig deeper. The race. Surely you have to watch this B Sport video and be able to speak to it, disprove it. Why isn't it that? Unless we're playing intellectual snobbery games. Now again, cheeky picture from this lad or lady, Rosario Guiliana, on the old Twitters. Again, trying to explain what's going on here. All I know, it gets too techie for me, chat. I'm not even going to lie to you. Phase changing materials. It sounds like ice cubes cooling water, but the reversal of it in my mind makes no sense. But this is what it looks like, says Rosario. Listen, all I know is this. I think Red Bull are trying to copy this as much as all the others. Mercedes too. I think they'll be looking to copy this. This is F1, a piranha's tank. If you're not with the crowd, then you're against them. Ergo, you are losing at the altar of reduced, slower lap time. McLaren will be looking to guard their secret. That's why you keep seeing the human wall around these very sexy, innovative brake ducts. But Red Bull are protesting at each and every single juncture with a view to incorporate that, nullify the durable competitive advantage, or adopt and build it into your machine. It's going to get techie. Go on, let me show you something else, because I've got some slides to present to you. Max at the Nordschleife. How about this, yeah? Courtesy of Vincenzo Landino on the old Twitter. I saw a shot of this. People have been talking about this. We've been talking about this. The fact that he went so bloody fast and has so little experience in their GT3 cars. But this is Max Verstappen. And again, as we talked about Ferrari, you shouldn't be surprised by this chap at this stage. Do you know what I mean? Let's roll this clip. Pushing a little bit at the Nordschleife, which isn't an easy track to navigate. I mean, go easy, Franz Hermann. Go easy, Franz Hermann. And Franz Hermann was, of course, the pseudonym that Maximilian Verstappen was using. This matters, some say. Franz, on one hand, was the name of Maximilian Verstappen's grandfather. On the other hand, that's also the first name of one of those being touted to potentially replace Christian Horner, if, as rumoured, as reported by the Mail, again, not the most reputable of sources, but I digress, the Express 2 and a couple of other outlets, OE24, that the Austrians are keen to appoint Franz Tost instead of Christian Horner as soon as the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix this weekend. Oh, the humanity. I can't even conceive of it. It's a black swan, therefore. I can't imagine it, let alone see it happening. But Christian Horner's had a good tenure, has he not? 2021 was his stay of execution. His tenure was due to end then, had Maximilian Verstappen not gone and broken his Drivers' Championship duck. If they'd walked away with 0 silverware, then Christian Horner would have been gonzo then. How about now in 2025? It's going to get techie, chat. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where Christian Horner is no longer the team principal of the Bulls that are red? It's Jomo. chaotic. Go on, let me tell you about this Toto Wolff thing as we round third base then. Because Toto Wolff, the context is key here. Toto, the boy who cried wolf, still in my opinion, will drop kick in the chest King George Russell of Kings Lynn, Norfolk, and or Andrea Kimi Antonelli. And that means something, it matters. On the back of King George Russell's brilliant performances in 2025, I feel like that dude was a caterpillar in 2024, but he's now has gone through his gestation period and is becoming an F1 peddler of a butterfly before our eyes. Mr. Consistency. You recall this time last year, he was just coming off of Australia, where he took his eyes off the road with a view to tinker with some of the toggles on his steering wheel and then yeeted it into the back of Fernando Alonso, Mr. Wiley Fox himself. You shouldn't be doing that. If you're as good as George can be very soon, hopefully, then you should have enough nous and enough savvy and enough devil, per se, to know that you need to watch out for Fernando Alonso if indeed you are on his gearbox. Now, however, it feels like George has taken a leaf out of Oscar Piastri's book, and he's learning, he's assimilating the skills and toolbox necessary, no requisite, to win himself races on a consistent basis and championship. People have compared George Russell to Alain Prost, accumulating points, being super consistent in it, taking a step back from the F1 trees would to see the F1 trees, of course. So then it's not lost on us that Toto, the boy who cried wolf last year, was super keen to sign, or at the very least have talks with, one Maximilian Verstappen for some say soon to be 5, potentially. Summer break, Toto had conversations with Team Verstappen, and on a second occasion, they had conversations over the course of the Miami Grand Prix weekend. It's not lost on me that the equivalent fixture was last week. Toto, the boy who cried wolf, however, is talking something different. I don't know whether to listen to Toto's words or pay attention to his actions. In the first instance, Toto said, quote, "George is part of the Mercedes family and has always been," he told Motorsport Week in Miami. "As I see things today, why break a team that is on a trajectory I see as positive? I think," continues Toto, the boy who cried wolf, "it becomes so obvious when a 7-time champion leaves the team which he was in for 12 years. George, who like everyone has always been a little bit in the shadows of Lewis, is now the one giving direction. Oh, the humanity." Wolff continues, quote, "Now the dynamic is different. George has massively stepped up as a senior driver in the team. Kimi is almost like the younger brother that's just come in." So go on then. That's what Toto's saying, that he doesn't want to break up this harmonious relationship with a view to go and acquire the services of a Max Verstappen, in stark contrast to his actions in 2024. Maybe Toto's cognizant of the fact that Max might go and, I don't know, have a word with the Green Machine, want to rekindle his working relationship with Adrian Newey, the last airbender, on Honda as an engine manufacturer, because they love themselves some Maximilian Verstappen. Lawrence Stroll will throw the book at it to the tune of $1 billion, some say. However, if you look at what Toto, the boy who cried wolf, is doing in real time, why does George Russell still not have a contract? And again, this isn't a long-term play, right? George's contract set to come to an end at the end of this year. Let me ask you another non-rhetorical question. Why are we seeing George negotiate, have conversations with Fabio Briatore and Ollie Oakes in the paddock, and Zach Brown too? There's something going on here, chat. I feel like the rules of engagement as far as George Russell and Maximilian Verstappen and their futures aren't set fair for George. He's been brilliant this year. So I say to you again, why does that dude not have himself a contract? I would argue that there is only one answer to that exam question, and that answer has a name, and its name is Maximilian Verstappen. Chaos Turtle Dove, wishing you the best, mate. Jomo, you're an absolute legend. Kimi's better than King George. Oh my goodness, the blasphemy, Joe. How very dare you, Troy. Cameron CC narrative makes it so enjoyable. You're a legend, Troy. Late again. Oh, lazy. Me and you both, mate. It's chaos out here. And again, this is in the lead up to the Imola Grand Prix. Couple plot lines, Can the others catch up McLaren? We're now round 7. A quarter of the season has gone, and these guys and girls are going to have to start making decisions about their design philosophy tree that they choose to bark up. Do they diversify like Mercedes did and start to focus on 2026 when there be a brand new rule and reg set, or they continue barking up the 2025 tree, notwithstanding the fact that the probability of victory and meaningful gains in year goes down materially day by day? They will need to catch up McLaren because they have the whip hand, and in order to do that, they will need to transpose whatever this phase changing materials thing, whatever it is that nobody can identify that McLaren are using. Maybe it is just sound engineering, but whatever it is, the other teams will need to institute for it ASAP as soon as possible. Why? Because McLaren have the whip hand and it is material, particularly around hotter climb tracks. Mention no names, Miami. We'll get techie. Chat, I'm going to run. You're a legend, Wolfer, a proper legend of the unbridled variety, each and every single one of you, as we look to continue building this community. This community, what are you talking about, Cameron? This community within which we can have conversations back and forth. You guys can keep me honest as far as all my F1 nonsense and my trying desperately to talk some stuff in a way that that's commensurate to the sport that we know and love. Between now and next time, what are we doing here?